Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to a new series of Let's Play Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. It's not a new show or anything, it's just a new character, Creepy Gorgosh. He's a Demonspawn Conjurer, worshipping Vehumet. The reason why I'm starting this video at character level 11.5 on the second level of the layer is because this is sort of um, my point at which I feel like I can, continue on with the game and succeed if I play well. Prior to this, prior to around layer 1 or 2, you can just have the bad luck of running into an early fire giant or a particularly nasty unique that just shuts you down before you learn any spells. And that's no fun for no fun for me, and it's not a ton of fun for you, dear viewers. So I tend to sort of skip the early levels and come to about this point. Leave a note in the comments if you really do want to see me go through some of the early levels with a caster, with a conjurer specifically, or another one of the caster backgrounds. And I can definitely make some of those videos if you're interested in those early few levels. But for now, I wanted to give you something that's sort of exciting from the very beginning. So here we have Creepy Gorgosh. We have some antennae, which eventually, I think we have the lowest rank right now, rank 1. When that reaches rank 3, we will be able to see invisible as well as sense monsters up to 7 tiles away, which is really good for, making sure we don't face check a whole ton of whatever. We have rank 2 of our slimy green scales. At rank 3, that will provide us with 4 armor class and resist poison, which is great. That was something that we kind of struggled with on the last Demonspawn I played. The only source of resist poison that I found that didn't take just a whole ring slot by itself was a pair of boots with like -5 armor class. It was very frustrating, but we're going to have it naturally, and it can't ever be taken away from us. You can't take that away from me. We sometimes gain a little power by taking damage. We are powered by pain. That is one of our tier 2 mutations. Occasionally, when we are damaged in combat, we, we have a 50% chance to regain a little bit of mana, or gain might, which increases your strength and damage from your weapons, or a 25% chance of agility, which increases your dexterity by 5, I think it's 5, and increases your evasion by a significant amount. So, that's pretty good. It's a little more variable than I would like. It's kind of random when and what those things are, but by and large, it's going to be good for us. If we're taking damage, it probably means we need mana anyway, because we are going to be relying almost 100% on our spells. We are also mostly covered in sharp spines. That's rank 2 of spiny. I think it's rank 2, maybe rank 3. No, rank 2. Okay. And that is a retaliatory strike on creatures that damage us in melee. It gets worse the higher our armor class is, so it's not going to be very useful late game, which is a shame. But, it's okay. It's going to help us out a lot. In fact, already has helped us out in the lair particularly, when most things are going to be damaging us by biting us, kicking us, clawing us, otherwise getting up in our face. We have some rings. This artifact ring is interesting, although it's not great for us. It does provide regen, magic resistance, and stealth. So it's I think of it as my running away ring. If we throw our spells at things and they are not phased, we can toss this on, since we're not going to be casting more spells anyway, and just run for it. So it's a good escape ring. Take a turn to put that on. It's no big. Little ring of strength, ring of evasion, ring of protection are what we're wearing. I found both of these relatively early, which is one of the reasons why this has been a successful run thus far. These two rings, like if you get a +4 or higher like +4, +5, +6 of evasion or protection early on, you should be able to survive to the lair if you are careful. Those are just really powerful effects, and the fact that I have one of both is proportionally really large. So we have, I guess, all of our mutations except for our tier 3 mutation. Um, Options for that we would really like, we would like negative energy resistance, because that rank 2 of that gives us a 50% chance to negate Torment, which is one of the worst endgame effects. And that's what our goal is for this guy, is to make him a crazy spellcaster that can just, just burn his way through a ziggurat. I want to clear a ziggurat with this guy. 50% chance, just 1 in 2 chance to completely negate the effect of Torment. It's very, very, very good. And the final rank of that is not as awesome for us yet as a caster. It's a draining melee attack. But still, it'll be good at some point. We also wouldn't mind terribly... Well, any of the others, really. Any of the others are fine. I won't go through all of them. I might mention them as we go, if you're curious, but... What do we want to do here? I don't think we want to go in guns a-blazing. Black Mambas are tough, and we don't actually have that resist poison yet. So it could eat us for lunch. So let's summon our Battle Sphere. Yeah, I guess I could talk about our spells for a moment. The way a Conjurer works, it's really straightforward. You level Conjurations exclusively until you hit level 8 or 9, maybe 10. Occasionally put a little bit into spellcasting, and then branch out into whatever elemental schools you find or want to go into, and occasionally just splash some into dodging and fighting. That's how I do it, at least. Oh, and about 5 or 6 levels in Charms, so that you can cast Isengundren's, or Iskenderun's. That's a hard mage's name to say. Iskenderun's Battle Sphere, which is this little guy who follows us around and loves us, and blasts our foes when we use our other conjurations. We want to go Fire and Air, which is why I have Fireball and Shock memorized. Although Fireball is good in its own right, Shock has also some limited applications, bouncing and whatnot. I'm trying out Dazzling Spray this time, and I actually really like it. I normally don't want to put points into hexes, but I figured I wouldn't have to, since our conjuration is going to be very high. And it's been pleasing me. It blinds and confuses things that it hits. I imagine, any living creature. So, it doesn't work on undead, unfortunately, but that's fine. Early undead are generally weaker than their living counterpoints. Okay, yeah. Let's use the Dazzling Spray. Yeah, I like that a great deal. Your Battle Sphere is immune to your conjurations, so you don't have to worry about, I don't know, blowing up your own sphere, generally. Generally speaking. I think maybe Orb of Destruction can blow up your own Battle Sphere. I really don't know. I haven't tried very hard to play a Conjurer in quite some time. Yeah, I like the Dazzling Spray. Of course, Searing Ray is very good. If you have not played with Searing Ray before, it's a little tricky to use, but it's very strong if you can use it properly. It's your level 2 spell in your book. And the way that it works is you cast it... here, I can demonstrate. Shift to Z lets you cast spells at nothing. You cast it in a direction. Ours goes 1 square further than it otherwise would, because we worship Vehumet and we have piety with him. I'll talk about Vehumet in a moment. Anyway, you launch it, and uh, the first beam is a beam targeted ray. It does a little bit of damage. Still decent, about as much as a magic dart. If you press the wait key, not the rest until healed key, but either S or period on your standard American keyboard, those are the defaults, you will fire a second, more powerful beam, also beam targeting. And then a third, even more powerful beam targeted. And then the fourth blast is a bolt that is very, very strong. Bolts penetrate through all enemies. It hits, everything 1, 2, 3, 4, everything in a row. The others would only hit the monster right in front of you, unless they miss. So the mana cost is 2 for the first turn and 1 for each consecutive turn. So it ends up costing 5 over 4 turns. And it's a very good spell if you can get things into corridors, or otherwise predict where they're going to move, and you can line them up. It's very strong early on to take down, for example, orc priests that like to hide behind sort of meat shield minions and smite you from afar. Oh dear, speaking of orcs, Nergal is a dangerous one. Or it could be Nergai. I don't know. Nergal is how I think about it. Okay, so Nergal has a few annoying abilities. She can summon spectral orcs, which is very, very strong, and then haste them, which is very, very strong. And she can cast a Bolt of Draining, which deals damage and drains our skills temporarily. And finally, she can cast Death's Door, which is it keeps her at 1 hit point and makes her invulnerable for a few turns. Sort of like Tryndamere's ultimate if you play League of Legends, if that is a useful reference. But she cannot be killed, essentially. You could banish her or otherwise translocate her, but you cannot kill her while she is in Death's Door. And that lasts an absurd number of turns. Like 10 or 15 turns, at least. So this is a very tricky fight for us. Fortunately, we do have something to aid us. This is the Amulet of Warding. It helps repel attacks. I think it increases our evasion, if I recall, against summoned creatures. And also, it gives us a resistance to draining, resist negative energy. So, basically everything that she does, it helps us out with. So what I want to do is we're going to equip this Staff of Energy and summon our Battle Sphere. And we're going to try and blind and confuse her. Yeah. I like that. So Vehumet currently is boosting our conjurations. He is extending their range. Ha! Got her. Fantastic. That was much easier than I anticipated it being. As a melee character, she's a terror. So Vehumet is currently boosting our spell power, our damage, and extending the range of all of our conjurations, all of our offensive things. And occasionally we have mana refunded to us from killing stuff. So combined with our Powered by Pain, we have a pretty good chance of having the staying power to outlast many of the tougher baddies in the lair. I think we are pretty good. What I'm not as used to is being as fragile as we are. Although 19 armor class, 20 evasion at this point in the game is quite all right. Especially since we will soon be resisting poison as well, naturally. Although there's no telling when that mutation will happen. It could wait until level 25. But generally, the scales and body mutations complete earlier than the Tier 2 and 3 mutations. Not as a hard and fast rule, but loosely. Okay, we're going to go ahead and summon a Battle Sphere first, before switching over to this, because yaks tend to come in many groups. Or tend to come in groups much of the time, and occasionally many groups. But the Battle Sphere did alright for us there. Kind of want to get back a little bit. Yeah, we have a good good amount of defensive capability here. I don't know why this Battle Sphere isn't being awesome. Come on, Battle Sphere, be awesome. Sometimes it can be hard to position it. It can't fire through you, but you can fire through it, and it will try and get next to you. It's very, very fast, so it can kind of dart around and blast from numerous angles, but you still have to give it at least a line of sight, unfortunately. It is very, very powerful. If you can get Battle Sphere reliably castable as a Conjurer, you will probably make it at least a little of the way through the layer. Like, near guaranteed. This will kill pretty much anything you come across. If we didn't have the evasion in armor class, yeah, armor class 14 is probably still fine. We could probably keep on this Staff of Energy, reduce our hunger costs. Oh, a mimic. The Battle Sphere can fade at inconvenient times, which is... oh, this is a cool layer level. The woodland creatures. They're restless. Bum 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 ba bum bum. Yeah, it'll be really nice to get the third rank of that mutation. Our scales. We, of course, are increasing intelligence. Yeah, there we go. Like I called it. Slimy green scales cover our body completely. We get resist poison, an additional armor class, which is a nice little bonus. Let's Dazzling Ray these wolves. That seems good. Yeah, I like that. In the extended endgame, we may forget that spell, because it only works against living things, so I don't believe that it counts demons. Maybe. But it's at least very good through the layer. And I've never really played around with it before. I've always rushed Iskandarun's Mystic Blast, which we memorized later. And I think it's better. I think it's better to memorize early. Okay, yeah. Fire magic, air magic, spellcasting, we're just kind of trickling points into those until we obtain much more difficult spells. Like, as soon as we get access to Firestorm and Tornado, I want to kind of be able to cast them. Maybe if we get a Source of Wizardry as well. Because those are just... ooh. I still have never actually cast Firestorm. I've seen it cast on other crawlers' streams, and it's very cool. I'm jealous that I've never had the chance to cast it. Olgrib's Toxic Radiance. I don't know how I feel about Olgrib's Toxic Radiance. What does it do again? So it will poison us, but it can also poison everything nearby. This is another Vehement benefit, by the way. He periodically offers you spells, offensive spells that you can memorize. Just, for a while, and if you don't memorize it by the time he gives you the next spell, you lose it. But eventually he'll give you Lehudib's Crystal Spear and either Firestorm or Ice Storm, or whatever it is, Deep Freeze, respectively, depending on which route you went. and Tornado or Shatter for um, air and earth. Do-do-do. Yeah, this staff is really nice. Getting rid of the Spell Hunger of the Battle Sphere means we can just kind of spam it. It's still, you know, a moderate mana cost. We can also now eat the flesh of things that were poisonous. Ooh, the swamp. Cool. That's neato. I like the swamp more than the shoals, mostly because I've encountered it fewer times. I had a run where I seemed to get the shoals every single time. Um, but I've had a couple of swamp, oop, a couple of swamps lately, and it was nice. It was fun. I like this dazzling spray a lot. It's really useful as an AoE, more so than I think Iskenderun's Mystic Blast is, although it does tend to eat up mana. Yeah. Well, we're out of mana. That's the first time that this has happened to us. I swear, it's the first time it's happened to us. Yeah, but we're fine. We actually have a weirdly decent weapon for a melee, or for a caster. It's this Halberd of Protection. Gives us an extra 5 armor class, which I normally wouldn't use. I mean, if I were a melee character, I wouldn't use it because I don't really like halberds. They have I don't really like polarisms in general. The accuracy to damage ratio and speed and stuff. It's just not very good. But you can evoke them to, I mean, at no hunger or mana cost. You can just reach with them. You have a 10-foot reach instead of 5. So that's nice for when we're out of mana. Da 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 da. Another wand. We probably want to use these wands as much as we can in the lair, because we don't plan on going the evocations route. I really like having evocations on melee characters, just as a sort of a useful utility thing. You can, you know, summon things or zap things as needed. Just gives you an additional resource that you might otherwise lack. I am not yet very familiar with targeting this spell. It seems to be more effective on the first target it hits in line of sight, but it has some bolt properties. I don't know, it seems cool. Seems alright. I like trying new spells when I can, when I have the luxury to do so. A lot of the time you just kind of have to rush Battlesphere and hope for the best, because you haven't found enough of something or another. Do 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 do. Nice thing is we don't have to sacrifice anything to Vehumet. We get piety just from killing things. Pretty much anything, I believe. Yeah, just as much carnage and destruction. Some of the gods only give you piety for killing demons or undead. Others only give you piety for, I don't know, slaying living beings or blood sacrifice or something. It's a mixed bag. Apparently in 0.15, this particular video is recorded on trunk 0.14, the downloaded tiles 0.14 trunk. In 0.15, they're making a ton of changes. And one in particular is that they're adding a couple of new gods. Ooh, and the spider's nest. This is my favorite combination of branches to have. This is very exciting. I'm happy with this run. Even if we don't live, I feel like I have beat the random number generator demons that have been plaguing me. Because some of our characters that we anticipated being very, very strong ended up having some fatal flaw, whether it be mutations that weren't entirely appropriate for the late game build that we tried to go for, or just a dearth of equipment, a lack of items. So it's nice to just get, a completely unreliable, statistically uncorrelatable sign that we're going to have a good run. Just pure chance. Sometimes you just have to hope in this game. You know that you shouldn't survive an encounter because you really screwed up. And you just hope that the dodges all come out from your avatar. I do try to reduce variability where I can, which never mind the fact that I'm playing a Demonspawn, which is the most variable of the races. Um, just pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But generally, when I build my characters, eek, run away. Oh, we lost our scroll of enchant armor. That's what I was afraid of. That's why I popped right back up those stairs. That and our only source of resist fire also causes us to gain a vulnerability to cold, unless we want to give up both evasion and armor class, which I don't think we do. I think we will pursue a different route, a different method of ingress. Black Mamba. Gonna eat ya. Yeah, I feel much better about attacking a hound. That feels like a better start to this level, and we have a good idea of roughly where those guys are. They're probably still in those locales. Roundabouts here. We're just in a better place with a sphere summoned and... Yeah, our spell power is growing nicely. Oh, wow, yeah, this is getting close to full power, even. Although it will slow down at a point because we don't intend to improve charms any further if we don't have to. It'll probably kinda peak out at a pip or two away from... We might be more or less at the peak for a while, actually. Crocodiles are not the difficult ones. Alligators are really scary. For some reason, I don't know if this is true in real life as well, but in Crawl, at least, alligators are way more scary than crocodiles. Way more scary. Way scarier? Way scarier. They give me the heebie-jeebies. They're just very, very fast. They're very, very powerful. Fast both movement and attack speed, and a lot of damage. They're just rough to deal with. And if they're in the water, they can go like, Super Saiyan. We've ID'd a smattering of potions. Nothing too exciting. No potion of experience or anything overpowered like that. Though that would certainly be nice. Potions of Experience would be one that I wouldn't mind them taking out if they had to remove something. I don't know why they would, but if they wanted to like simplify potions overall, I wouldn't mind removing that. It's just hoping for one. It's so rare that you can't really hope for one. So you're not in a rush to quaff ID your potions because it's so rare that you would actually get one, and that just really incentivizes using scrolls of identify on all of your potions, which is not as fun. In fact, I think in 0.15 they might even be um, making all consumables ID on pickup, which is fine. I'm okay with that change. Although I would think that at some point, if they keep making it easier to identify things, they might have to boost Ashinzari's power, the shackled goddess of curses and knowledge. Very, very cool. I love playing as an Ashinzari follower with melee characters or hybrids. Characters very invested in weapons. I don't know if we want Olgrip's Toxic Radiance, mostly because I don't know if I want to put points into poison magic really at any point. I find that there aren't that many things that poison is good against that fire isn't also good against. I mean, there are a few things, but not too terribly many. Fire air is a good endgame combination because one, you get Firestorm, which is smite targeted massive destruction, like 9-tile destruction with vortices of swirling flame, and it's just boss. It's the best spell. Um, but a lot of endgame things have resistance to fire, so even though part of Firestorm, I think 40% of it is irresistible, punches through that resistance. It's still not 100% effective a lot of the time. So you also get Tornado, which there are very few things that resist air damage. There are some, but not very many. And you get Tornado, which just shreds anything that survives your Firestorm, basically. Anything that's running at you. If it's a long-range Torment Bomb, if it's a bunch of Grand Mummies, or whatever, Great Mummies, Grand Mummies, the really, really rough, evil ones that just blast you with wave upon wave of torment. Like it's worse to kill them en masse. It can be more dangerous to kill them en masse than to leave them alive to summon demons because their death curses are so powerful. Ugh. Very scary. That's why the tomb is considered by some to be the most difficult thing in the game. Others say that ziggurats are the most difficult thing in the game. Uh, I would say it depends on the tomb. And well, the tomb is almost always identical, although that's changing in 0.15, as of now at least. All the changes are subject to change. But yeah, a ziggurat can have tomb-like levels that contain, they're just stuffed full of grand mummies, and what you gonna do? Um, bum, bum, bum. So, yeah, it's either guaranteed a whole bunch of grand mummies or sometimes a whole bunch of grand mummies, and you hope that it's, yeah, not a thing. Kind of lost steam on that one. Okay, one nice thing about having permanent poison resistance is that we will always be able to eat flesh that would otherwise be poisonous to us. And that is very, very nice. Let's dazzle. Razzle dazzle yeah, our spell power is pretty good on that battle sphere. Oh, Come on, Yak. Give me a break. The Staff of Energy is pretty nice early game. We don't really need the channeling ability. Yeah, we can evoke it to try and channel some energy, which... meh. We won't often need it because of Vehumet Plus powered by Pain. Plus the fact that we can always use our most efficient spells, being the Battle Sphere plus... Like, the Battle Sphere plus Magic Dart is incredibly efficient, because the Battle Sphere is incredibly powerful, and the Magic Dart has a range that spans the entire line of sight. Wow. This is a crusty bunch of wolves. This is kind of a test of our strength, but I think we're passing. Yeah, I really like that Dazzling Spray. I also hope that that small crackle I hear wasn't my microphone just now kicking in. If it is, I apologize that the first 35 minutes of this video have been silent and you're just now hearing me. But welcome, regardless. Thanks for sitting there in the quiet. That seems unfortunate. I'll have to review this video later. Blat. Yeah, I like the Dazzle. Bedazzle it. Cool. Yeah, I would say this is one of my more successful Conjurer runs. I have never, I don't believe I've ever reached an Orb of Zot point with a caster. I tend to have more luck, I guess, with melee characters. Or rather, I feel like I feel like they're more reliable, maybe. I can at least predict what's going to happen as a melee character better than I know what's going to happen as a caster. It's the spells that you have access to which you have access, are sometimes varied. Oh, I completely forgot that we have Fireball. What is that? F? Oh, F for Fireball. Convenient. Oh yeah, we don't have a hunger cost for anything. It's about the same power as Iskandaruns, but it can get much stronger. Okay. Alright. Good to know. I think we can turn off air magic for now, actually. That's only boosting shock. That's mostly just training it for later game anyway, and you know, a few free points into the spell power of flight. Just extend the duration of that a little bit longer. Ooh, unidentified amulets. I don't know that I really want to test that out with my neck. Oh, Gourmand. That's just fine then. We don't really need warding in the lair. They're very... The odds of us bumping in... Well, somebody like Nergal are very low, but we already bumped into her, so we can pretty safely wear the Gourmand and just be stuffed full of food for the entirety of the lair. Oh, we already had a +1 pair of gloves. I guess we have to go which one looks better on our character. They both appear to be... No, these are blue. These are blue. Yeah, we gotta go with the blue mitts. Haha. You can tell if you look very closely, dear viewers. Okay, let's not take any chances. Let's bust out some of the big guns. Ha. Yeah. That's pretty good. 8-headed Hydra, just bam. Sticky Flame I'm not going to memorize because I don't like it. Something is in melee range of us, we should not be sitting there trying to throw fire on it. Sticky Flame is good for hybrids. Like, it's level 4, which is reasonably castable with moderate armor, even at fairly low levels of skill, so, you know, you can actually use it as a... and put points primarily into a melee weapon or unarmed combat. But as a pure caster, I don't like it. It can also be nice for like necromancers or something, where you have a bunch of summons, so you can just blat, stick it, and then retreat back through your minions. I tend not to play summonery types just because they take more button presses than I like to use. That's really all that it comes down to. Spellcasters in general take more button presses than melee characters. Although if you macro nicely, macros are um, sort of programmed commands that you can set to a key on your keyboard, and um, like one of them, if you press the tab key, normally it attacks with your melee weapon the nearest target or the most dangerous target nearby. And you can make a macro that has a similar effect for certain spell slots. So you just press, H, and it casts Fireball at the nearest enemy or something. Or Magic Dart or what have you. But I don't tend to mess with those. I sort of lose track of macros if I'm not careful. Okay, Control Teleport is good. Yeah, that's quite good. Do we want to memorize it? Do we have a Scroll of Amnesia? Okay. Yeah, I do want to memorize Control Teleport. That seems like it could be quite handy at some point. Control Teleport, if you have not come across the phenomenon, is a relatively uncommon effect that allows you to control where you land with a blink or teleport. And it's usually reliable. A lot of late game, like vault branch endings, like branch endings that are also vaults or vault-like, often have mysterious forces that warp space and time and prevent you from controlling your teleports. So it's not universally useful, but there are many times where you can use it to your advantage. But normally I don't get to use it because the only source of it I find is a ring, which I generally find not to be worth the ring slot. That was a good beam. It can be worth it to keep a beam going even if there's no target in range, as sort of an anticipatory beam. I apologize if I get a little more distracted in this video. Casters are much more difficult for me to play than melee characters. Partly because I have less experience with them, partly because they have more options than step forward, bash, retreat, repeat. And that's why I kind of wanted to play a Conjurer as sort of an intermediary to other more esoteric forms of spellcasting. Like I didn't want to jump back into the Enchanter that I have going, the Enchanter Stabber. That sounds miserable. I don't want to be sneaky at the moment. I want to blow things up with prejudice. Like a frivolous claim brought in a civil action. Our fire magic is at level 5, which isn't awesome. We have a 0 aptitude with conjurations, which is fine. -1 for everything else, basically, which, isn't awesome, but it's not too bad. I mean, conjurations will certainly be maxed at 27 by the time we reach the end game. And spellcasting will be very high. Fire magic will be very high, although probably not maxed. So yeah, we're fine. Skill-wise. Um, and we seem to be reasonably powered. I haven't felt like there were any situations really yet that demanded my complete attention, which is why I've kind of been just rambling on. We haven't found ourselves in any particularly sticky situations. I'm going to try and want to keep to staves instead of branching out into a melee capacity. We don't want to be hitting things in the face. If we're hitting things in the face, something went horribly wrong somewhere along the way, and we didn't get any escape spells or something, or we got ambushed with a silencer or mana drainer. This seems like a good place for some dazzle. Dazzle! It's not horribly mana inefficient either for as many targets as it hits. I mean, it doesn't seem to be doing a huge amount of damage, but our Battle Sphere surely makes up for that, and the fact that its AoE is very useful, especially against, bunches of little green rats. Dangerous in packs only. Could be good against blink frogs. I didn't consider that earlier when I was fighting those blink frogs. See, even with as few options, even the limited options of a Conjurer are still enough to make me lose track sometimes. Yeah. This is fun. I like being a caster. I like also knowing that I have some survivability. Have we? We haven't seen any more mutations since our scales, but I guess we haven't gained that many levels. Though this video is getting a little bit long. A cursed opal ring, that's probably a ring of hunger. I would guess if I had to. An elephant. Elephants are tough. They are very strong enemies. But we don't have to engage them in melee. So that makes them significantly weaker, especially since we can blind them. Oh, being a caster is just so cool sometimes. Though this is still a kind of a precarious situation. Let's keep them blinded and try and... that didn't last too terribly long, did it? Well, we can channel energy, or try to. That doesn't seem to be working all that well. Let's go ahead and teleport out of here. We've seen a fair amount of this level. There's no reason for us to... Yeah, that's fine. No reason for us to risk our lives trying to bash those elephants to death when we can just retreat. Take the surefire approach of splitting them up and taking them down one by one. I guess the ray isn't very good against these guys at all, is it? Since they can trample us, move us out of place. I think if you have very high strength, you might be able to stop them. But our strength is certainly not very high. I was tempted by a little voice that said, "Play Chabriados again." And do the just huge stat bonuses. We have somewhere, I believe, a Book of Changes, which gives us blade hands. Oh. Oh. No. I guess that was a different character. I've had a couple characters that I managed to get close to the layer that had, some cool stuff. Oh, that is not good. I need to remember that. Some cool stuff, but they were all lacking in some way or another. Missing some key element. Like one had a whole bunch of different spells, but awful intelligence. or intelligence not worth anything. Nice thing about elephants. Ooh, oh, I forgot that we were wearing this amulet of the gourmand this whole time. Ah, fantastic. So we are set for... We will be able to collect a lot of permafood here. Which is... okay, wand of fireball, whatever. It's kind of nice for casters to... Oh, shock. Yeah, we can shock things. Why not? Probably actually better than Magic Dart now that I think about it. Almost certainly, if we can get a bounce. Without a bounce, I don't know if it'd be worth it. I think I will end this first video at the end of this level of the layer. Level 7 and 8 are a little tougher. I don't know why I summoned a Battlesphere for a Quokka, but it's a good habit to be in. Level 7 and 8 tend to be tougher. Death Yaks are frequently seen. And so I like to take my time on them. And this is already a long video, but thank you for watching if you've stuck it out this whole time. I like this character. Creepy Gorgosh has just a good name. He's got a good name to him, and I think a good chance of delving all the way. Thanks for watching.